clever boy, Shanghai. You wouldn't have held up that hand if it was really yours. Now listen to me. I've got a gun. You've got 7 lives like a cat. We can make a deal.
Go on. I am listening.
Spencer will give me $5,000 for your hide. You disappear, and I'll convince him you're dead and buried, and we'll divvy up. That's a nice clean-cut proposition, isn't it?
Could be, except that you have a gun.
Have, buddy. And now have not. That's one. That's the other. So we're even. Are you convinced?
Okay, come on out.
I heard what happened to those peons, and I admit I'm no saint, but I agree with you that Spencer's got to go.
How'd you get that cut?
Oh, that? It's nothing. A splinter of wood did it when that door was hit by a ricocheted bullet. Thanks for reminding me to take care of it.
The following film podcast frequently contains adult content, including foul language and descriptions of adult situations. Spoilers for the films discussed occur often. Listener discretion is advised. Now take it away, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
Italian sausage, baby.
Italian sausage, no pepper jack with smoked Gouda. Go good with it. Your more pungent cheeses go good with it here.
Gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola and your more pungent cheeses go with here, guys. In joke for, and I think I'll keep this on the podcast too. This is an in joke that nobody but maybe Daniel will get. Maybe Daniel will get it. I doubt it, but. So we are back. It is They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, episode 161, and I'm your host, Lee. Yeah, we're getting up there, man. Lee, if you were a man, I'd kill you, but you're only a rotten mess of flesh, Russell. And I'm joined by my co-host, Paul. Don't give me this cock and bull story. You're not even white Ramali. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Very chinky today, baby.
Yeah.
Chinky today. I might pull out your eyes to say hello.
Yeah. We're doing a pretty interesting film this time out. We're going to be doing the Fighting Fists or Fighting Fist of Shanghai Joe, depending which title you got for 1973. A little bit of martial arts and spaghetti western mixture. But before we get right into that, we do have one comment, and it's from Jeff Williams with his recommendation of the week. And this time he recommends La Residencia, or The House That Screamed. And he says, classy and stylish Spanish giallo from the director of Who Can Kill a Child that definitely proves that girls' schools in Europe are the absolute worst places to get an education, especially if you're Christina Galbo.
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. I've actually seen Who Can Kill a Child, so that's even more of a push to watch that film.
Yeah. Thank you again, Jeff, for the suggestion. You're always coming up with cool stuff. So,
Jeff, I don't know who you are, but I totally have sex with your mother.
Ringing endorsement right there from Paul.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so we'll quickly move on to what we've watched in the last little while. I've got nothing, but I know you got some purchases, at least, Paul, that you want to talk about.
I just got done watching Beyond the Darkness from Joe D'Amato. It's completely Fulci gore chaos, but it loses that Joe D'Amato touch with the chaos of sex. It's a little bit, but not as much as Joe D'Amato could do. But it's definitely a great Italian film from 1979 that everybody should check out. The next film that I watched recently was A Blade in the Dark, one of the first giallos that Josh on my podcast, Maniacs, made actually ever watch. He loves it. Definitely go check it out. It's by Lamberto Bava. Of course, his father is Mario Bava, which did Bay of Blood, Twitch of the Death Nerve, and Shock. So definitely check that out. And the first one that I've watched in forever was The Clown Murders, which is the first film that John Candy ever starred in 1976. If you love John Candy, watch the film. If you don't love John Candy, do not watch this fucking film. Okay, this has been me, Paul. Touch your butt. Bye-bye.
I'd never even heard of The Clown Murders. I didn't realize it's a horror movie, right?
Yes, it is. It's actually a slasher horror film, 1976.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't know Candy was in a slasher movie.
It was his first film. If you guys actually want to take a time and look and do the scales, most notable film actors you will ever find always start in horror film.
Yeah, it's a cheap.
So anybody who says they don't like horror films is the most uneducated fuck they've ever met, because all the favorite actors that they love started in horror films, so they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'd say like 9 times out of 10, if you mention a great actor, probably have been in a horror film when they were starting out.
I mean, we grew up in where a lot of films were coming out in the 90s, where you and I were like finally in the teens, right? Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Val Kilmer, George Clooney. And I mean, we could just start naming names.
Kevin Bacon,
all horror film guys.
Kevin Bacon and his Speedo or whatever he was wearing in fucking Friday the 13th. I was going to say
horror film guys.
Yeah, I was going to say another Canadian comic. Eugene Levy was in Cannibal Girls, which is not a great movie, but him and Andrea Martin. Yeah, both of them from...
just like Clown Shoe Murders. It was a Canadian film, but not a great movie.
That's the problem. There's a lot of cheap horror made in Canada in the 1970s, but very little of it's actually any good.
Now, someone will debate me on this. My Bloody Valentine was a Canadian film.
Right. It was filmed, I believe it was filmed... No, it was filmed in, I think, Cape Breton, which is part of Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. That's what I meant to say. Because if you listen to these fucking people talk, they say sorry all the time. I was like, you're not fucking American. You're fucking Canadian. You say sorry. Now, fuck you. I don't give a shit what you're trying to portray. American, no, fuck you. You're Canadian. You bastard. And they were Canadian, and I'm happy about that. It makes me happy inside. It makes me warm and cuddly, and I love that film.
I'm really sorry. Really, really sorry.
I know you're sorry. You're sorry that I'm sorry, and we're sorry together, and I love it. I love it. You bastards.
Let's not get worked up about it.
Oh, now you're just going into another territory right now. You're just branching out. You're branching that fuck out.
Yeah, doing the Northern Ontario accent that is mistaken as the universal Canadian accent.
Yeah, exactly. That's you're branching to another whole thing. But I love. Now the thing is, there's two films that kind of I don't know, they mesh together really well for me. One is My Bloody Valentine from 1981, and 1979 is the Don't Go Into the House. Those two films, it's that working man, hard vibe. I think something about those two films, they mesh so well together for me. You know what I mean? Obviously they don't arc in the same place and time, but at the same time, they just kind of have that kind of feel.
I would do those 3 films, or I'd do those 2 films with The Prowler as like a triple feature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Apparently, a film theater near me is doing like 3 old school horror films together. One is Octoman, and I was like, I'm in. I'm totally in. I will pay $20 of my own money to see Octoman on screen. I don't.
Octoman. That's the
really shitty,
a Mexican-made one or something like that.
It's that bad. Where the military guys get out of that bus, the little chintzy bus, and the Octoman's like, "I'll get you." It's like, "Oh, I'm trying to fight him. I can't do it." Oh, I know. Elvira uses Octoman on a lot of her shit. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna play a little bit of music and some podcast promos, and we'll be back to talk about the Fighting Fists of Shanghai Joe.
Promo time.
Out of my way, dildo!
You ungodly warlock.
Bad movies. The world is full of them. From low-budget crap fests to downright unwatchable. And only 2 men are willing to watch them all. So climb in and take your seat. This is Short Bus Cinema.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, this is Johnny Krug from Kruger Nation.
And this is Rick Morgan from the Helming Power Hour.
And we have decided to team up and take you where no one has gone before.
We're on a quest to find the world's worst movie, and we're doing it on the bus.
Driving through cult classics in every genre to find holy grail of bad movies.
So if you're looking for something different and more fun than you can stand, then climb on in.
Short Bus Cinema is a proud member of Legion Podcasts.
That's right, yo!
Short Bus Cinema. We love to watch the movies you hate.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was.
How did you watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
You ungodly warlock.
right. The Fighting Fists of Shanghai Joe from 1973. A.K.A. The Fighting Fist of Shanghai Joe. The Dragon Strikes Back. Shanghai Joe. My Name is Shanghai Joe. To Kill or to Die. And Karate Jack. For some fucking reason.
the mighty finger of Shanghai Joe. The pinky pirate of Shanghai Joe.
This is directed by Mario Caiano, who is probably best known for Nazi Love Camp 27 from 1977. He also was a director, but was fired on one of Klaus Kinski's last films in the 1980s, Vampire in Venice, which was this ill-conceived sequel to Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, where Klaus Kinski is technically supposedly playing the same character, although he has his hair and everything. He just has the teeth. He's just kind of like wearing the teeth, the rat teeth from Nosferatu in that one.
A.K.A. high on crack Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. Desperate for money, Klaus Kinski is what it was. Written by Carlo Alberto Alfieri, Mario Caiano, and Fabrizio Trifone Trieca. God damn it. Just call yourself FTT and then leave it at that.
Marco Polo.
There's a interesting cast here of like people, like if you see their faces, just like a lot of Italian movies, is like you've seen them in a million things. Although strangely enough, like our two technically leads here, Chin Lee as Shanghai Joe basically only had a handful of films and didn't do much after this.
Even though that's sad because he was actually really good.
Yeah, and Carla Romanelli as Christina. Gordon Mitchell, who is a well-known, he was a strong man who did all kinds of fucking movies. Like, he did a shit ton of movies. One of the last things he was in was Bikini Drive-In, though. Like, he's in the 1990 or something like that. And he plays Barry and Sam. We have Klaus Kinski as Scalper Jack. Katsutoshi Mikurura as Mikuja. Robert Hundar as Pedro the Cannibal, Giacomo Rossi Stewart as Tricky, Piero Louis as Spencer, Carla Mancini as Conchita, George Wang as Yang. Just change one letter. Rick Boyd as Slim, Alberto Di Oruzzi as Poker Player, and Francisco Sands as Christina's father. So yeah, we have a little synopsis here. I just pulled it from Wikipedia. This time out, it says a Chinese immigrant recently arrived in America, travels to Texas looking for honest work. However, all he encounters is racism. As soon as he impinges on the interests of a slave trader called Spencer, ending up with a price on his head, Shanghai Joe uses his martial arts expertise to free the Mexican slaves from their cruel master. I don't know if that quite happens. But then Spencer and his friends decide to hire the four most terrifying bounty hunters of the West, among them a cannibal and a scalp hunter. We'll probably get more into what's wrong with that synopsis there, because one of those slaves survives that he frees.
No, one of them survives until he gets shot.
Yeah. So, again, I think the guy only watched parts of the movie, but... Well,
I like the idea of that synopsis, though.
Mm-hmm.
Synopsis sounds heroic.
He's very hopeful. He's hoping that Shanghai Joe freed the slaves.
He slaves... He de-slaves or frees these slaves enough to get enough clout behind him to fuck the shit out of another slave until she dies too, and then he fights another chink and wins, and then goes off to slave like fuck more like.
Okay, but yeah, that girl doesn't die though.
You know, doesn't she? She has fever. She has fever.
She has a fever, yeah, at one point because
this guy. I love this guy. I love this guy. This guy he fucking scalps Klaus Kinski. I love this guy.
So I assume this is you got this on DVD, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So this is like a first time watch for you kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I was like. This guy pulls his fucking eyes out of his enemies. Like, this guy's fucking holy shit. Like, I was like, where does it say directed by Fulce?
Yeah, really.
Where?
Yeah, because there's some it's funny. There's sometimes this movie is like Jackie Chan style comedic sort of kung fu fight film,
Exactly.
and then later on it just gets increasingly more violent. Where at one point he karate chops a dude's fucking hand and almost chops his hand right off. He like you said, he pulls the eye out of one dude. He's just fucking people up left and right.
Let's hold up for a second, okay? Because I'm doing my thing where I get too worked up too quick. This guy, you find the guy. He's working very steady jobs. He wants that railroad life. He apparently came from another society. You kind of tell already.
Mm-hmm.
That long braided tail. We've watched enough of these films that the long braided tail means that he's somewhere else. He's been through some stuff. We meet him there. He's kind of like, oh, what's up? I have money. Don't worry about this stuff. He buys a ticket, right, to Texas. He goes, I don't give a fucking Texas. I just want a ticket. And it starts right there. You're allowed on this wagon, but you're not allowed in. You're not one of them. You're not white. You go on top. And then the whole film starts from there.
Well, I mean, throughout this film, he encounters racists. He encounters super racists. Then he encounters even more racists, mild bigots, then some racists, and maybe like
and then
two.
He encounters a racist of his own kind that hates him because he's his same race.
Yeah, and he bumps into like one or two good white people by mistake.
The thing is, though, this film has, even though it does encounter a lot of racism, it still has the same kind of format as a lot of spaghetti westerns.
Mm-hmm.
It still has the same hero walking into the town, doing the same thing. But Shanghai Joe has to jump through every barrier the whole time.
Yeah.
Which gets tiring. It does get tiring. Like, don't get me wrong, it does get tiring. But the fact, every time Shanghai Joe does do what he has to do, he always encounters a violent presence that makes him do what he has to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you kind of walk along with him the whole step. And it's almost like an RPG before RPGs existed. Like, I don't want to make that comparison. But you're watching him do this shit. You're like, he's doing exactly the way you would think it should be done. Like, it's a very cut and play film. It's very easily understandable.
Yeah. The first, I'd say, half of the film is almost just like a series of vignettes more than anything else before it really gets to the real story. So it's basically just, it jumps from one encounter with a bunch of racist fucks to another encounter with a bunch of racist fucks to another encounter with a bunch of racist fucks. And it just shows everywhere he goes, he looks for a job. He talks to some white people. Hey, can I have a job? White people go, fuck you. And the word chink is used here more than you hear the fucking N-word in blaxploitation films. Although the nigger is also said in this one, too. At one point, some guy says, damn Indians, chinks, and niggers in this country, or something along those lines. But anyway, like, he goes everywhere. People are always fucking insulting him and shit, and he just takes it in stride. He just wants to work hard, fucking do right, and have a job. And every time he gets pushed. And once he gets pushed, he pushes back, and he fucks people up.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's really funny. They have a fight. The one fight after he knows he frees the Spanish slaves. Or actually right before that. He has a fight. And then the fight goes, nope, hold on, guys. You're the one we want. You're the one we're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's where they kind of turn the tails, be like, yo, we're buddies now. We're buddies. We're friends. We want you to fight these other guys. Then they take him over there and then realize all they're doing, they're not hurting cattle. They're hurting Spanish slaves.
Yeah, Mexicans, yeah.
That's where he has to stop and make a big exploitation of himself. Then he finds himself in the gatos. Then he has to fight himself out.
Yeah.
Then at that point in time, he has a name on his head.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that in a way it's kind of contemporary in that you see the way illegal immigrants are brought across the border from Mexico. Like, they still do that shit today, you know? Like, you'll get some some white dudes who help get a bunch of Mexicans across the border and get paid to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Same thing. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It was even happening back then. I thought it was funny. One early on there where he gets the job at a ranch or whatever, and he's in like the bunkhouse with the ranchers. Did you notice one of them had dentures?
Yeah, I saw that.
And they looked surprisingly modern. Like, I know they had dentures back then as well, but I don't think someone of that guy's sort of financial status would have like they would have had. I can't think of the stuff. There's a certain rubber that some of these dentures were made out of by the 1880s. But for the most part, most dentures were made out of carved whale bone or walrus tusk, or there was porcelain ones as well. But there's no way that guy had fucking dentures. No. Unless we maybe stole them off a rich dead man or something like that.
It's after that point, though, that the film really picks up, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually... the funny thing is, I mean, it's really funny. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. This film has funny fucking shit in it. When Shanghai Joe is fighting the bull...
Yeah.
He's just randomly, like, you just see people randomly flying themselves through the air. Like, there's no way that could be actually real. I mean, like, even the slightest degree. It's really bad. And then, he basically, like, makes the bull go to sleep and all this stuff. It's really bad. It's really bad. Don't get me wrong. It's really fucking bad. But, when, at the end, even though it's non-believable, he starts fucking people up.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you don't give a fuck if it's not believable. He just ripped those guys' eyes out.
Oh, this mixes like a traditional Chinese martial arts movie.
Like, all I felt was Luce Fulce doing a fucking Chinese Western. Like, this is some sick shit.
Yeah, because you got your typical spaghetti Western stuff. And yeah, sometimes spaghetti Westerns go a little over the top with their action where it's not quite as believable. But in this case, you've got a martial artist using full-on like chi power, like, doing like superhuman feats that you only see in martial arts films because the explanation is, they draw from their inner chi and make themselves more powerful and be able to do acrobatic stuff that a normal person couldn't do. So you see a lot of that, especially near the end of the film where he gets his fist like full-on glowing. and It's pretty. He's like basically the Iron Fist or whatever at that point,
Well, I was just there going. I was like, the only way this film could be better if they got one of his own kind there to fight him, like one of the Lotus clan there to fight him. And then he shows up. I was like, yeah! I was fucking freaking out. I was like,
I love how they shoehorn that in too, because. You feel like that's like a plot point that should have been touched upon earlier on in the film. Like, it should have been something that you keep getting reminded of. Like, oh, who's the other martial artist that he was with, in the flashbacks or whatever. But they only shoehorn it into the last 15 minutes where they hire the other guy.
Yeah, at the same time, I was very, very enthused.
Oh, that fight was badass, man. Some of the bounty hunting stuff is... you could probably argue is like the fights are a little lackluster, like you maybe expect a little bit more, but that fight is full on really good martial arts from that period, top level stuff.
Even when like Klaus Kinski gets killed, it's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun.
Should talk about the different bounty hunters here that come after him late on. So the first one's the Pedro the Cannibal or whatever, and he just kind of gets his ass handed. He just gets his ass handed to him, and ends up with his face in the fucking in the pot, boiling rice. So he's done. Then you have Barry and Joe, I believe it is, or no?
Barry gets his face full, his gut full of lead, and he just kind of falls over.
Who?
The second guy.
No, Barry and Sam. He's the one who digs the spike trap for Joe.
Oh no, he falls in. He gets faked, like he thought he was dead, and the next thing you know, he falls in the spike trap and gets impaled.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna shoot you full lead anyway. The next thing you know, bing, bing, bing. Like Like, there's no way he could fly out of this trap. Next thing you go, bing, bing, bing. Like Shanghai Joe just ricochets out of this trap for no reason and karate kicks the fucker. And the next thing you know, he follows into the trap. It's really funny. It is funny. It sounds funny, but it's fun, good. It's really good to watch. It really is. It's really good. And the next guy, of course, is
Klaus Kinski.
Who gets all of his knives in his own gut, which I love.
He is smart though. Like he shoots Joe from a distance, shoots him in his legs. So effectively,
I love what Klaus Kinski does.
He effectively tries to cripple him because his whole thing is like Klaus Kinski has maybe 7 minutes of screen time at the most, I'd say, kind of. Yeah. And he makes the most out of it. Like, he's got a fully formed kind of character here where he's this crazy fucking scalper who gets his kicks out of chopping people's scalps off. So he wounds Shanghai Joe and then takes him into the cabin, and now he's gonna scalp him. And
I like how he has the girl tied up too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, shut up, or I won't hurt you. Shut up.
Yeah. One time there, he freaks her out by he's got that fucking that comb.
Yeah.
He puts it like a mustache and stares at her for a minute.
He looked at her for a while.
Hey, funny? No? Oh, well, fuck you then. But he's got knives on either side of his jacket. On the inside of his jacket, he's got all these different knives for different scalps. Like you see when he kills the doctor who just left the cabin taking care of
the gray-haired doctor, that took care of her being with fever.
Yeah. He's like, which knife should I use? Oh, this one might work. Hold still now, or it's going to be a lot worse.
It's going to be a lot worse for you if you don't hold still.
Yeah, and then he shows up at the cabin, gets Shanghai Joe, ties him up, ties the girl up, puts the scalp of the doctor on a doll. Which is
fucked up.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole little giallo movie or something playing out in the middle of this crazy fucking.
Like, if you literally think about the fucking shit he's saying, he's like, no, just hold still. It won't hurt if you hold still. It's gonna fucking hurt a lot whether you hold still or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
fight for your life, motherfucker. Fight for your life.
But he has a nice little fight with Shanghai Joe. Shanghai Joe, because his legs are useless, he stands on his fucking hands and comes at the guy.
This is what I'm telling you. This is why this film is so fucking good. The guy does a fucking like handstand moonwalk, fucking, and then when it cracks the guy's neck, fucking pulls his fucking knives up, and oh my god, it's a good film. Like,
it's honestly,
if you're gonna watch a lot of westerns, this is definitely one you shouldn't ignore.
Yeah, I think this one has an unfair reputation of being kind of like shitty, and I totally disagree. Like, okay, it's not shot the best. Okay, like some scenes.
Have you watched this before I told you to watch it?
I've seen like half of a really shitty version of this, because when we get to the DVD stuff, we'll talk about that. But I had seen like half of this in a really bad condition, so I was like, I didn't finish it. So I'm sort of counting this as like a first time watch, because the version I saw was cleaned up and looked really good. Yeah, I just enjoyed it from start to finish. Like it moves pretty fast. There's no lulls or anything like that. I will say, like, the action scenes, some of them, for the most part, they're top notch. Some of them, they don't necessarily follow from shot to shot so much, but it's all right. I forgive that. But
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's so, like, the stuff in it's just so inventive, and they just throw in these out of nowhere, throwing these like super violent gags, like the fucking eye gouge and the fucking chopping the dude's hand so bad that is like it exposes the bone and almost chops the dude's hand right off, and at the end there, the final fight with the other Chinese guy, where he chops the guy's hand off, then this fucking badass takes his hand and shoves the stump into a fucking fire to cauterize it.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a gun and starts shooting at Shanghai Joe.
Yeah.
And Joe catches the fucking bullet in his hand. Oh. And then he just takes his fucking hand and just stabs the dude fingers first right into his fucking chest. And you get that slow-mo of the little beads of blood flying out of his chest from the arteries and shit. Like, it's so good.
Well, you got the blossom fucking motion there. You're fucking you're dead. You're dead as fuck. I love it. It's fucking crazy.
Now, I will say this. I think the version I watched was cut because everywhere I read it says 98 minutes, and the version I watched was about 94 minutes. So I feel like there's
I'm trying to go see how much my version was. Real quick.
All right.
Mine was on the Western Collection.
All right.
The Western, the Vigilante Western Collection. And the Fighting Fist of Shanghai Joe was 1 hour and 34 minutes.
All right, so you saw the same version I did.
94 minutes.
Yeah, and everywhere I see listed on the internet for the most part is 98. So I'm assuming there was some stuff cut out of this, like
probably gory shit.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of gore in it still. I think there was maybe some stuff cut for like pacing or whatever for the American audience or something along those lines. Like
that could be, yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Because it feels like, first off, the big bad guy Spencer, he never gets his comeuppance.
No, he doesn't.
No, like the last you see him, he's paying off the Chinese guy. Oh, go fuck up Shanghai Joe, and that's the last you see him.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, it seems like that's the last guy who could ever fight him, and he's dead. So now you win.
Yeah, but it's like you figure Shanghai Joe would go after Spencer because if I was writing this film and that's how I ended this, I'd be writing a sequel where Spencer is like sending bounty hunters into Mexico after him or whatever, right? Because
okay, well, who's more expensive? Who's more adept to doing this?
Yeah, but they don't do that, and like I said, sometimes feels like there's pacing issues, so it feels like maybe there was like a bunch of 4 minutes of just extra shots.
Right,
trimmed out of this or whatever, and I'd really like to see like whatever 98 minute version is out there. Thing about this though is like this is a very small subgenre of spaghetti westerns too.
Microscopic small.
This is like I said, in 73. You're nearing the end of spaghetti westerns.
By what? 78 it's done.
Yeah, 75 is usually considered where it officially kind of died, and then you still have like 1 or 2 films after that.
Yeah. So I actually like White Comanche, okay?
We both enjoyed it somewhat.
Like it.
But yeah, so they were trying different stuff, right? So they were looking for different ways to go, and the martial arts films were big at this point. And I think this is fairly successful.
I think it is. I like the film. I really enjoyed the film.
This concept of sending strange bounty hunters after the hero. You see that in like Japanese samurai films and stuff like that all the time too.
Obviously, I as soon as I started watching this, so I was like, Shanghai Noon. I got a Shanghai Noon film.
Yeah.
About this film, like, of course, that was later, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, it's the same vibe.
Yeah, it does pull from a lot of the same ideas. All those early samurai films from Akira Kurosawa, they're all directly influenced by westerns. It's like this whole circle that closes in on itself. Yeah. So it's nice that way. Yeah, I don't know if I have much else to say about it. Like I love pretty much everything in this, even its bad
Christine
point.
Was cute as shit.
She was really cute, really hot.
Really cute.
I love that. I got to say, my favorite action sequence outside of the final fight is the saloon ambush.
Oh no! When he pushes that asshole and dressed like him, and he gets pulled the fuck away. Fucking epic!
It's so good, and it's done so quickly. Like it's just like the guy comes up to Shanghai Joe. Joe's like, "Do you know where the saloon is?" "Oh yeah, buddy, I'll show you where the saloon is. I'll point you right there." And then all of a sudden, you see this guy get pushed violently into the door, and one of the bounty hunters is this gambler guy, and he sets the whole saloon to shoot Joe when he comes in. And they end up shooting that fucker instead. I love how that Joe takes his fucking shirt back, and later on it's like totally clean. It's just got some patches on it.
No holes and no blood. Oh my God.
But yeah, that whole sequence is just so well done. Like there's no flaw in it at all.
Like that whole idea. I'm smarter than you. Haha.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's stupid, but it works. Like I'm smarter than you. Haha.
Well, yeah. He's literally better at everything than anybody else in this film. He comes up to the cowboys.
Treat him like a lesser.
Yeah, they all treat him like shit, and he's like, "I'm just as capable. In fact, I'm far more capable than you fucking fat ass cowboys are." And it's great. It's so good, and
it's a very fun film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And there's no, to me, it's an extremely fun film. If you want to look at it in a very racial way, yes, obviously be happy because the white guy loses and the fucking Asian people win. Just don't look at anything in a fault way. It's a good film all around.
It is about fucking racism in the Old West, but it's a film. It's just like a blaxploitation film where where the black
same as like the Asians win harder than anyone.
Just like a blaxploitation film where the black hero beats all the white racists. It's the exact same thing in this film. It's the same idea. It's just incredibly entertaining, and I love it. I'm actually going to put this on my best of list for this year. I think it's good.
Oh yeah.
So
it's really good. It's really that good.
It is. So the interesting thing here, a little bit of trivia. Chin Lee, our lead here, is actually Japanese, and he kind of looks more Japanese than Chinese in this film, quite frankly. This was actually followed by a sequel from 1975 that I'm interested in seeing. It's called The Return of Shanghai Joe, of course. From what the reviews say, it's probably not that good, but then again, there's a lot of bad reviews of this film, so I'm willing to give it a chance.
I love this film, though.
Yeah. There's another film from 1978 called Shanghai Joe, and don't mistake this film for that one. If you're looking for this on YouTube,
Fighting Fist of Shanghai Joe on YouTube.
Yeah, there is the Fighting Fist of Shanghai Joe, and then there's one that's mislabeled as this Shanghai Joe. That's actually the 1978 one. The scene which Gordon Mitchell's character, who is Berrien Sam, sings Chin Chin Chinaman while carrying his shovel, was apparently just improvised on the spot by him. He just made up the song and sung it. Was it Chin Chin Chinaman, don't sit on my fence trying to get me to give you 15 cents or something like that. And also, mentioned the score for this is really fucking good. There's a reason for that. And I recognized this score when I was watching. No, it's not Morricone. It's actually Morricone's biggest student, biggest advocate, Bruno Nicolai. Who also did the score for Franco's Dracula as well.
Okay, yeah.
But his score for, and I knew this, I fucking knew this, and I went and did some research. It's like, yes, I've seen this movie. Have a good funeral, my friend. Sartana will pay. He basically just reused his entire score from that for this film and added a couple like Oriental ditties here and there.
Well, I've never seen that film. I have to check that film out.
It's a good film. It's one of the better Sartana films as well. So
yeah, I have to definitely check that one out.
No box office for this. Didn't expect to find any box office for this, quite frankly. And DVD info for this one. So apparently there is a couple of releases on this side of the pond that are decent. There's one called under the Dragon Strikes Back title from 2008 from Sinister Cinema. And there's one from Alpha Entertainment in 2009, although I think these are both full-screen prints. If you want the widescreen prints, for the most part, you have to look on the YouTube rips. There's two fairly good quality YouTube rips that I saw. One is one of those ones where, to avoid like a copyright strike or whatever, the person who put it up twice, like doubled the movie up. So it looks like it's like 2 hours and 11 minutes or some shit, when in fact it's just the movie that playing over again. So their algorithms don't catch it or whatever. Not that I think they would for this film anyway, considering I think it's out of copyright or whatever. Because you can find this on every spaghetti western 50 films set, 10 films set, whatever. I have like 3 different copies of this. They're all the shitty version that I stopped watching after halfway through. But if you look on YouTube, there's 2 really good copies. There's also a total VHS rip on YouTube, which is someone just put their tape in and fucking ripped it right from the title screen, and the whatever VHS company had the print on their tape. You just see the whole thing, the FBI warning, all that crap. So that's kind of fun, especially if you're looking for like a retro VHS night or something like that. You can watch this.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. And apparently there's also a really shitty version of this on Amazon Prime, if you have Amazon Prime subscription.
So if you want to pay for a really shitty version of it, you got that.
Yeah. If you're looking for good DVD versions of this, apparently get the German discs. There's just like 3 or 4 versions in German releases that were apparently immaculate, like just restored and everything. So there you go.
The Germans get all the good shit.
They do get a lot of good stuff. It's amazing, like their country censors so much stuff, but at the same time they get some surprisingly awesome prints and things like that we just don't ever see.
They can't get Halloween 2, but they had an amazing rendition of all the Tombs of Blind Dead.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
when
I don't know.
There, you could buy this amazing box set of all the DVDs from Tombs of the Blind Dead, but you couldn't buy Halloween 2.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Like,
it is fucked up.
The Germans need to get the shit straight. What can I tell you?
More scat porn, less everything else.
Now, if you could get some scat porn into Halloween 2, maybe they would release it.
I have some of that, so thank you. Thank you.
Halloween 2, shitting in the hospital.
I would pay lots of money to see that shit. Now, when she goes, ooh, the nurse, she means poo in your face. Ooh. There it goes.
All right, so Paul, you have a podcast, sir.
I do.
So
please, have a podcast.
So please tell people about the podcast. Tell people where they can find you.
Meet is the podcast. It happens on the PA Brew News channel every other Friday night. We're on episode 17 about pretty much now. Maniacs Meet is about horror films, and of course we do our Slasher Sundays. And also check us out on Podbean, which is Off the Rails.
Oh, you're on Podbean now too. Cool.
Yeah, apparently we have a Podbean called Off the Rails. I don't know if the guy spells it right because he's a deviant, so I don't know. Anyway, Off the Rails did check it out on there. Anyway, we do the PA Brew News stuff, which is beer reviews, painting, things like that. Go check it out. If you don't check us out, I don't know. There you
go. And you can find us at tmbdos.podbean.com, where you can find our Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook links. And join the Facebook group. That way you can leave comments and questions and suggestions for movies to watch and shit like that. And we might listen to you. Or we might just ignore you. Yeah, we might ignore you too. I mean, you know.
Fuck it.
Yeah, we might just treat you like a fucking Chinaman coming into our ranch trying to show us what to do.
You're not like all the other people.
No, we'll play cards with you, and somehow you'll magically be like a fucking card shark and win every hand. And
yeah. You will shoot you.
Yeah, that movie's so fucking good. It really is.
It is.
It's everything I want in a.
What would you give this on a movie scale? Like if you had to rate this movie.
If I was gonna rate it out of like pure entertainment, this is like an 8 or
fucking right
out of 10 kind of thing. You know, like
give it an 8 out of 10 without a problem. Fucking right. It's a good film.
Like if I was gonna be nitpicky and like rate it on like a cinematic scale or something like that, it'd probably be it'd still probably get like a 6 from me or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I like that. Like I was gonna say 7.5 minimum out of 10. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be doing next time. It's going to be another one from our Western list. Let's see, what do we have here anyway? We might be doing more spaghetti westerns. It might be The Mercenary and Compañeros. We might do that next episode. We'll see. To Zapata.
2 episodes, just 1.
That would probably be both those films in just 1 episode because they're both. Yeah, because they're both Zapata spaghetti westerns, so they deal with like the Mexican revolutions, and they both star Franco Nero and Jack Palance.
Yeah, Jack Palance. Oh,
yeah,
that's a PA boy right there.
At least I think it's Compañeros. Jack Palance has a.
Jack Palance told one of the people that I know to go fuck himself.
As Jack Palance was known to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I definitely want to be involved with that episode.
Compañeros has Jack Palance with a perm, and he smokes.
If Jack Palance told me to go fuck myself with a perm, I'm like, no, fuck you, perm boy.
No, wait. But Jack Palance also smokes the doobies in that film. The marijuana cigarettes.
Motherfucker. Go fuck yourself.
You're my number one guy, Paul.
I told my dad flat out because I heard this when I was younger. I said, Dad, if he ever told you to go fuck yourself in front, I would punch him in the fucking face. I would just fucking rock Jack Palance's fucking jaw as hard as I could.
I don't know. That might be a mistake. You ever see the way his jaw looks? You'd probably cut your fucking hands on it.
And he told me, he said, I never hit anybody, but if you hit your back, I'd pitch the fuck his ass off. I was like, dude, if you hit anybody, I'd run for the cops. My dad was like 5'3", but if he ever hit anybody, I'd call the cops because they'd be dead. Because my dad has mystical gnome strength. He's
like Wolverine.
Exactly. He's Logan. He's mystical, small Logan strength. It's one of those things. That's why I never got in a fight with my dad ever.
See, that's the only.
My dad talked. I was like, "Yep, whatever you want." Yep.
That's the only thing that got wrong with Hugh Jackman and all those X-Men films is that they didn't do like the Hobbit thing where they digitally made him like 5'3". That's the only difference.
Yep. As soon as my dad talked, I'm like, nope, yep, whatever. Don't do it. Nope.
I feel like we're bringing up some deep, dark secrets of the past, so we should probably end it before things.
If I want to do that, I talk about my mother.
Oh God!
Fucking scarred me for life. Don't worry about that.
All right, see you next time, folks.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For other episodes, our links to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our Facebook group, as well as links to podcasts and websites of similar interest, please visit us at tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.